Hey there, my friend. I'm genuinely glad you're here watching this. If you feel like hitting that subscribe button, well, that'd absolutely make my day. Now let's not waste a second. Let's get into it. Haley was already tipsy. You could tell by the way her laughter rang out too loud, how easily she cut people off mid-sentence. She'd chosen a blazing red dress, the kind that practically begged for attention. Not exactly subtle for her sister's engagement party. But that was Haley for you. Always the center of gravity in any room. "So, Lucas," one of her cousins asked as he lazily stirred his cocktail, "what's it like being married to a Grant girl?" Before I could reply, Haley slid in with a sly smile. "Easy," she said. "We're open now. He does his thing. I do mine." The group chuckled, amused. I smiled stiffly, unsure whether she was being darkly humorous or cruelly honest. Then it happened. Vanessa came up behind me and wrapped her arms around my waist. She kissed the edge of my mouth, soft and deliberate. Her breath carried a hint of roses and mint. "If you're free now, Lucas," she said in a low, teasing voice, "maybe I can claim you for myself." The laughter in the room exploded. Haley joined in too, but there was something sharp beneath her amusement, a challenge flickering in her eyes. I pulled back, startled and confused. My face burned. Was this some joke or something more? Haley gave no indication either way. She raised her glass toward Vanessa in quiet approval. The next morning, Haley sipped her coffee and scrolled her phone as though nothing had happened. "So," I asked carefully, "are we actually open now?" She didn't glance up. "God, Lucas, don't be dramatic. It was just fun. Vanessa's always like that. Anyway, let's be real. We've been stuck in a rut for ages. Maybe you should try loosening up." Her tone was light, dismissive, but inside, something in me splintered. It wasn't only about Vanessa's kiss. It was everything Haley had said and everything she hadn't. From that point on, I started noticing things. Her late nights with no explanation. The way she giggled while texting and angled her phone out of view. The distance in her touch. The silence during dinner. Then I found it. Buried in a drawer beneath receipts and outdated coupons. A hotel keycard. A boutique place downtown. I waited. I watched. 2 weeks later, I stood across the street and saw her exit the hotel, holding hands with her boss, Drew Wallace. Mid-40s. Impeccable suit. Married. He kissed her neck like she belonged to him. My hands trembled, not from heartbreak but from rage. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed certainty. I needed her to incriminate herself. So I gathered evidence, every receipt, every message, every car location ping, digital trails she never expected me to follow. I compiled it all, tinder for a fire I was preparing to ignite, but not recklessly. I didn't want chaos. I wanted something cold, clean, and devastating. So I stayed in character, played the part of the loving husband. Morning kisses, folded laundry, pleasant small talk over dinner. Meanwhile, I turned my attention toward Vanessa, because Vanessa had her own secrets. Secrets even Haley hadn't figured out. That night had shifted something in me. The version of myself that used to trust, gone, replaced by someone quieter, more calculated. To Haley, I was still the devoted husband, all smiles and gentle questions, but inside, I was seething, and I had no intention of erupting. I planned to take her apart piece by piece. Vanessa had always lived in Haley's shadow, no contest there. Haley had always been the one who stole the spotlight. But Vanessa, she wanted to be seen, wanted to matter, and I was going to give her just that. A few days later, I happened to run into her near her office. She lifted an eyebrow, amused. "Lucas," she smirked. "Coming to collect another awkward kiss?" I leaned in slightly. Just needed to breathe. Funny how love starts to look like a game to some people. Her smile wavered, just enough for me to spot the vulnerability. We sat and talked. She vented about her fiancé, how boring he was, how safe. She craved risk, passion, recognition. And I gave her that. Not through touch, but attention. Words. Late-night conversations, texts that stretched into early morning. I made her feel seen. I pretended to care. And while I played confidant to Vanessa, I kept digging into Haley's trail. Her texts with Drew, her excuses, her cloud backups, which she thought were private. I uncovered everything, screenshots, old messages, and the one that broke something in me. Her mirror selfie in the red dress, Drew lounging shirtless in the background. I archived it all. Then one night, Vanessa invited me over, said we needed to talk. She opened the door in a silk robe, music playing, wine in her hand. "Do you ever think about me?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "More than I should," I said, and for once it was the truth. She kissed me again, not for fun, not for show. This time it was real, intimate. And yes, it was betrayal, but not mine. The following morning, Haley received an anonymous envelope. No letter, no name, just a photo of me and Vanessa kissing on her sofa. She didn't say a single word that day, but I saw it, her composure faltering, something inside her beginning to break. And I was far from done. 2 weeks later, Haley's firm threw its annual gala. Glamorous outfits, glittering lies. Drew arrived with his wife on his arm. That morning, I called Vanessa. "I'm going alone tonight," I told her. She didn't hesitate. "Then I'm going with you." We walked in together, dressed to destroy. All eyes followed us. Her silver dress shimmered. My suit was flawless. We weren't guests. We were an announcement. Drew saw us first. Then Haley. Her smile died mid-sentence, the glass in her hand lowering slightly. Vanessa leaned close to me and whispered, "Let's give them something to talk about." Haley approached with a thin smile. "Vanessa," she said coolly, "didn't realize you two were so friendly." Vanessa tilted her head. "We got very close, right, Lucas?" I held Haley's gaze. I smiled. And then, the moment I had been waiting for. Drew's wife, Lauren, stepped in beside Haley, her face unreadable. "I believe this belongs to you," she said, handing Haley a sealed envelope. Inside was everything: the texts, the photos, the hotel records, names, dates, proof. Haley went pale. Drew reached for it, but Lauren slapped his hand away. "You've wrecked 2 marriages," she said, voice like ice. "I wonder how your firm will feel about your little extracurriculars." She turned and walked away. I stepped close to Haley, my voice low. "You told me to loosen up, remember?" She didn't cry, not even once. She wasn't shattered, not entirely, but something fierce burned behind her eyes. As for me, I intertwined my fingers with Vanessa's, offered the cameras a polished smile, and walked away like the victory was already mine. The fallout wasn't immediate, but when it struck, it leveled everything in its path. Haley's employer had a zero-tolerance policy on office relationships. She hadn't merely crossed a boundary, she waltzed far beyond it. There was no shortage of incriminating material: flirt-heavy messages, hotel bookings, grainy snapshots taken well past midnight. The narrative painted her as the instigator. Drew later claimed she manipulated him while his marriage was falling apart. Haley said she thought he was single. No one believed her. By the week's end, both were ushered out quietly. No farewell speeches, no bouquets, no soft clapping, just vacant workstations and a silent HR escort. That night, Haley stumbled into the house, shoes dangling from her hand, mascara smeared, eyes swollen from tears. She didn't say a word. I was leaning against the kitchen counter, dressed in sweatpants, sipping coffee like it was just another evening. "Tough day?" I asked, not turning around. She let out a brittle laugh that quickly crumbled into sobs. I didn't flinch. Here's the thing about revenge. People expect it to feel victorious, like the crescendo of justice. But in truth, it's numb, it's hushed, it's isolating, and it wasn't over yet. Vanessa was now part of the web, though she didn't realize how deep it ran. Not completely. She believed what we shared was genuine, and maybe, for a brief flicker in time, it was. But whatever remained of my heart was scorched and incapable of offering anything real to anyone. She kept reaching out, texts, missed calls. Then one night she stood at my doorstep, eyes swollen, saying she'd broken off her engagement because she believed we belonged together. I didn't move. Upstairs, Haley's muffled crying filtered down, while Vanessa stood in front of me, spilling her heart. "Was I just a pawn in all of this?" she asked. "Tell me, Lucas, please." I said nothing. I couldn't lie, but I couldn't tell her the truth either. That night, everything shifted again. Haley knocked on the guest room door where I'd been sleeping for weeks. "Can we talk?" she murmured. I didn't respond. She came in anyway and sat on the edge of the bed. "You wanted to ruin me," she said softly. "You could have just left. Why did it have to be this?" "Because it wasn't just cheating," I said monotone. "You humiliated me. You made me a punchline to the people I cared about, and you didn't even try to be discreet." Her gaze dropped. I didn't think it would cut that deep, but it did. She cried then, not for show, but deeply, painfully. "I thought we were already over," she whispered. "I thought you stopped loving me." I didn't answer. Maybe she was right, or maybe the love had been buried too long beneath the damage. Then she said it. "I want to fix this." I let out a laugh, not out of amusement, but because it was tragic. "You didn't just break what we had," I said. "You stomped on the pieces and called it freedom." Still, she didn't walk away. She stayed. She began to fight. She started therapy, wrote me letters, raw, unfiltered ones, that I'd find tucked under pillows, hidden in drawers, slipped into my briefcase. She offered apologies to my family. None of it erased the past, but it made a difference. And Vanessa? She was unraveling. Word got out. Her name surfaced in the headlines. They called her the sister who stole the husband, even though Haley and I had never officially separated. Her engagement crumbled. She left her job. One night, she came by again, angry, drunk, hurling a wine bottle at the garage. "You used me," she yelled. "You didn't care. You just wanted to get back at her." She wasn't wrong, but I didn't feel triumphant, just hollow. Not long after, I met with a lawyer, told Haley I needed legal separation, not for revenge, for space, for clarity. I needed to rediscover who I was beneath the wreckage of her betrayal. She cried, but didn't argue. She just nodded. She understood. Time passed. First weeks, then months. One day, I found a small pink envelope in my mailbox. No return name, but I knew the handwriting. Haley's. Inside was an old photograph. Us at the beach, wind in her hair, my arms around her. On the back, she'd written, "I ruined the most beautiful part of my life, but I'll keep trying to become someone deserving of your forgiveness, even if you never forgive me." I held that photo for hours. Didn't reply. Just placed it in a drawer beside my bed, the only drawer I hadn't emptied since moving. I never reopened it. But I didn't throw it away either. That said more than words. I lived in a modest condo now across the river. Quiet, simple, no forgotten wine glasses, no lingering perfume, just calm. Haley had gone back to school, started volunteering, continued counseling. She was different, not bubbly, not bold, smaller, softer, but not weak. She looked like someone who had finally met herself in the mirror. I watched from afar. She didn't chase, didn't grovel. She just kept growing. That made it harder. Anger is easy when the person who hurt you stays cruel. But when they evolve, when the change is slow and sincere, you're forced to confront your own wounds. Vanessa, on the other hand, was spiraling. Her messages turned desperate, full of fury, sorrow, yearning. Then one morning, she was on my doorstep again, disheveled, tears streaking her face. "I gave everything up for you," she said. "I thought we were real." "There was never a future, Vanessa," I said quietly. "There was only a strategy. You got caught in it." She stiffened. "So I meant nothing to you?" I said nothing. She slapped me, not hard, but with every ounce of bitterness she carried. Then she turned and left. I haven't seen her since. The next day, I gathered the photo, the letter, everything, and got in the car. Haley's house looked smaller now, older, or maybe I had just changed. She answered the door, surprised. Sweatpants, bare face. Nothing like the woman I once knew. She stared at me. "I read what you wrote," I said. She gave a slow nod. "I meant every word." I stepped inside. The air smelled of cinnamon and lemon, as if she'd been trying to cleanse more than just surfaces. "I've been watching," I said. "You're not the same person." "I couldn't be," she said softly. "The woman I used to be? Even I wouldn't forgive her." We sat for the first time in over a year, not as opponents, as two people who had wrecked something once precious and were trying to see if anything still remained beneath the rubble. She told me about the therapy, about the guilt that stalked her, about the regret that never left. Every night she'd lie awake, running that party through her mind like a scene stuck on loop, searching for the reason why my humiliation had felt like entertainment to her in that moment. "I honestly didn't think you'd walk away," she admitted at last. "I was convinced that no matter how far I pushed, you'd still love me." "That was the problem," I said, barely above a whisper. Then, without warning, she asked, "Do you hate me now?" I held her stare. "No," I answered. "But I don't know if I believe you anymore." She gave a slow nod. "That's fair. I don't expect you to trust me. I'm hoping I can earn it back, even if there's nothing left between us romantically." I rose to my feet. "I didn't come here to make any decisions," I said softly. "I just needed you to know. I noticed the effort. I see that you're trying." As I walked away, there were no tears in her eyes, no desperate pleas, just a quiet, wistful smile, resigned, not manipulative, simply acceptance. That evening, I sat alone in my apartment, staring out over the still water outside. For the first time in what felt like forever, the fury inside me wasn't boiling over. It rested. But there was still one last loose end to deal with, one door left to close. I reopened an old email account, not to contact Haley, not even Vanessa. This time the message was for Lauren, Drew's wife. I still had everything: screenshots, timelines, concrete proof of who knew what and when. It was time someone else in Drew's world saw the full truth. Because unlike Haley, who was working to make amends, Drew had never shown a shred of remorse. Lauren's reply came within an hour. It was short. She asked if I'd meet her. I agreed. We sat down at a quiet cafe tucked into a back alley downtown, a place where no one would recognize us. Across from each other, we looked like two people who'd both survived the same wreckage. She was composed, but her eyes carried the weight of heartbreak etched deep into them. "I thought you already told me everything," she said, voice low. "I told you what mattered at the time," I replied. "But this is more. This shows how long he's been lying. It goes deeper than infidelity. There's evidence: misused finances, fake business trips, personal expenses charged to the company. You deserve to know everything." Lauren let out a slow breath. Then she gave a quiet nod. "Let's bring it all down." In the weeks that followed, we compiled everything: messages, call records, emails, receipts, even audio. Haley had unknowingly left her phone recording during an argument in Drew's car. It auto-synced to the cloud. In it, he confessed, said he'd used her, that he manipulated her job, laughed about her behind her back. Lauren took it straight to her attorneys. And then the fallout began. Drew's hidden life unraveled in the public eye. The media jumped on the story. He wasn't just another unfaithful executive anymore. He was facing scrutiny for misconduct, abuse of power, and ethical violations. Within 48 hours, the board dismissed him. The morning the news hit the headlines, Haley called. I didn't answer. I already knew the call wasn't to celebrate. That version of her, desperate for validation, was gone. She just needed me to understand that she finally saw Drew for what he was, not some magnetic leader, just another man hiding behind a polished exterior. A week later, an envelope arrived with no return address. I knew immediately it was from Lauren. Inside was a short handwritten note. "Thank you. He fooled us all for too long. Not anymore. I hope you find peace." And somehow I did. But peace didn't mean reconciliation. I never went back to Haley. Even so, I no longer hated her. We met just once more in the park where we used to walk together on quiet Sunday mornings. There was no anger, no blame, only stillness, only closure. "I wanted to hate you," I said. "I wanted you to feel what I felt. I wanted you to drown in guilt." She nodded. "I did drown," she said quietly, "but I'm still breathing, and I'm trying to become someone I can live with, even if I end up alone." Silence fell between us. Then I said simply, "Good." We stayed there side by side, not saying anything more, and that silence was enough. As for Vanessa, I never saw her again. Word was she moved out of state. Maybe she built something out of the wreckage. Maybe she didn't. It didn't concern me anymore, because this was never about revenge. It wasn't about tearing people down. It was about proving they couldn't tear me apart. And that's where the story ends.